is the real one great work in this world? Well, I'll tell you what it is. What work is actually desired work, not just work that you want to do, but work that is necessary for the evolution of humanity. It may seem so grand for ourselves to comprehend, but are we not to have a higher purpose than merely ourselves that extends to others and toward a world where we can enjoy more of the things we want to do and enjoy? One may argue that we can work toward a world of no work, but there is always work to be done. However, that being said, the work changes time to time. While chattel slavery was the backbone of the world for many years of human history, it no longer had to be the work done, and humans could still be productive. With the moral change came even greater innovations, and this is greatly due to the very nature of freedom. It allows possibility that includes the ability to create what hasn't been created before. That also means competition for what products or services are best. That does not come with some downsides, and nor do we ever lose our guard. In fact, it should make us more on the guard. For if we were not of freedom, our minds would be molded so we wouldn't have to use them. An easy life of servitude, yet one lacking of any purpose or greater work in life. And this is what Frederick Douglass could not avoid once he learned to educate himself as a slave. To see your own slavery is something you can't unsee after. For we must admit, when an individual discovers and understands the reality and importance behind political slavery, statism, and voluntarism, there is no going back to politics. There is no more division, there is no more war or willing order followers. To speak of a world without war is unthinkable, just as much as it may have been unthinkable to perceive of a world without chattel slavery in the 1800s. But that does not mean that we abandon the truth that we see so plainly and obviously. We only give exception to the obvious truth we see due to societal expectations and lifelong indoctrination, the fear of freedom or possibility, ultimately the destruction of imagination. Whilst all is possible, shall we put our minds to it? Think about the great accomplishments in history, all the people who make videos online showing their achievements, doing the unthinkable, and achieving what few can do. Yet, we look at humanity as a whole, and we cannot do this? All you need to do is look at the development of technology, the internet, and AI. Clearly something new, so not to say that history merely repeats. And these have revolutionized the world in such a way to completely alter and change our current reality in nearly every way possible. Again, this comes with its upsides and downsides, but is there any going back? We must live with the evolution and learn in how to do so. Just think of all the many laws which will not apply when anyone can replicate anything and nobody knows what's real, or when anybody can do anything in any way, or with AI being able to fly and so on and so forth. I mean, technology was born of freedom and breeds of freedom. Similarly, our nature to express and love and create in the first place, that of whichever created technology, is certainly born of freedom and bred of freedom. Freedom is the most important because it is that which carries the spirit, the ability to breathe, to speak, to act, to do anything. Freedom is the requirement. And when one lives by slavery, they die by slavery. Whereas when one lives by freedom, they die by freedom. You ought to question which cause individuals bring with them into the next generation, and this is ultimately the great work. It is that of freedom and looking upon the present for a better future. To know that what we currently know will affect what reality we currently have, onwards into what we can know and can have, as we see this can only grow, especially in the presence of evolution, books, cameras, and other forms of technology. It is no wonder why technology has become a creative outlet for many to express themselves. Let us simply know it is not ourselves, it is merely a tool for which we shall know of something higher, our natural intelligence, our natural selves. For if we lose that root, we lose the tree, we lose the structure we've long built. If we want to continue the work of such a tree and structure, it's in maintaining those roots to then recognizing that whole. And worry not, nature will remind us so long as we listen. So, for what work we should do, it would be to listen to others and let them be free among ourselves. We learn together and teach each other, and we realize that politics and governments do none of this, but only restricts and imposes, yet never solving anything, only making problems worse as it assumes to be the source of freedom and the medium through which life is required. It was never born of roots, it is continually a faulty structure that falls with great catastrophe. Your philosophy is actually what you live by. Hence, your wisdom is your experience as action. Live by illusion, die by illusion. I'd rather live by truth in life itself and die by such, for the truth in life will continue to live on. And that's the key if we want to fulfill a greater work than ourselves, to realize the truth in life. This earth is going to be here longer than us, and if we want to work with it, we're working with the future generations. We're working with every generation. We're working with our ancestors who brought us here. They had to work with this world in order to bring us to where we are right now. I mean, if you think about it, it's immense. And the catastrophe I talk about coming from governments, you may be like, well, what is that catastrophe? I'm talking about democide. It's actually known as the #1 cause of unnatural death. I share this statistic often with my audience because it's a very important one. It's one that even professors like Rummel has written a whole book about and did studies on and has statistics about. And that's not even counting wars or so many other catastrophes created by that system. And if we understand that system and how it infringes upon freedom, the very thing that allows us to innovate, then we can expect a lot of innovation when we create freedom and get rid of those systems. So here's a quick little story I wanted to share with you from an abolitionist. His name was John Brown, very popular in history in the 1800s especially. And there was a little excerpt taken out of the Liberty newspaper that I found from Benjamin Tucker, who's a 20th century abolitionist. So he wrote a newspaper, had some quotes about Abolitionist John Brown. So I'm talking about, as an abolitionist, another abolitionist talking about another abolitionist. But here's a short story where he summarizes what happened with John Brown. So here we go. Well now, my hearers of tonight, though chattel slavery has been abolished from our country, we have yet other wrongful and destructive things established among us, in which, in their turn, shall be brought to the judgment of justice. Take notice then of a few of the features of John Brown's revolutionary action. John Brown acted under his own authority, or as he said himself, quote, under the auspices of John Brown, end quote, by the power of his own manhood, in behalf of right and man's rights, he took the responsibility, seeking no sanction other than that of his own conscience. He did not refrain from action because he was weak, nor wait till the majority was on his side. Quote, I acknowledge no master in human form, end quote. That was said by John Brown. John Brown did not hesitate to confront the government and all its menaces. He stood by himself against all the established shows of the day, political, ecclesiastical, and punitionary. John Brown violated law and the laws. John Brown believed in destroying wrongful institutions by the sword when no other way was available. John Brown believed in fighting for others and giving his life for the freedom of slaves. John Brown took no heed of self-interest, obloquy, petty prudence, or the condemnation and vengeance of the times. John Brown put his whole soul in his work and gave it all he had, his own life and his 4 sons, 3 of whom fell by his side. Yet, withal, John Brown was a practical and sensible man, the attestation of which are his work and his success. If it be not for us of today to imitate John Brown's actions, well were it for us to possess the qualities of soul that underlay it. Other times need other work and ways of other men. Man rises to each occasion, for every emergency, bountiful nature furnishes the man. What a quote. I mean, we're talking, this is 100 years ago, I can barely speak it, but we can understand it. And what he's saying here is that John Brown did a courageous act, a sacrificial act, and it led to further the cause of the abolition of chattel slavery. But there's other justices that we have to make now in the 21st century, and we need to learn from John Brown and sort of emulate his actions, because he was just standing on his own conscience and doing what was right, regardless of what the law said, regardless of what some authority said. He was doing what was right. He was promoting the truth, and that's what truly matters. If I ask you, does it matter more to follow the truth or follow some politician, some person you don't know, or even if it is someone you know, a person's whim, a person's opinion? I would hope you would say the truth. And that is really our work here. And so it's demonstrated in the acts of this individual and in Benjamin Tucker saying, hey guys, this is what we got to do. And this is why he started his own newspaper, why I started The Liberator too, and why I encourage you to also get involved in these efforts, because now we have the age of mass information. We can bring Benjamin Tucker and Lysander Spooner and all these abolitionists who you may not have heard of because school systems won't teach you about them. But if you want to learn about them, they have fantastic works, and we have a bunch of resources, all the hidden information that was never taught to you. Find it on theliberator.us. That's theliberator.us. Send us an article, turn it into a video for you. Get involved. Thank you very much for watching.